Virtual reality gaming hits 2023. Welcome, dear gaming fans. In this video, we present you the best VR games of 2023. Get ready to dive into the incredible world of virtual reality and discover the most fascinating games you can't miss. Let's explore the masterpieces of immersive entertainment together. Aliens. Developed by Survios and 20th Century Fox, Aliens is a VR action horror game that takes place between the first two science fiction masterpieces, Alien, 1979, and Aliens, 1986. You lead a vengeance against the dreadful alien creatures known as xenomorphs as a combat-hardened veteran. The game will be released on PC, consoles, and an unnamed VR platform using the Unreal Engine 5. Although the precise gameplay of Aliens is unknown, it can be assumed that shooting, sneaking, and escaping will be commonplace. According to the movie series, we can expect a very dark and ominous ambiance. How frightening and immersive the alien world can be in virtual reality has already been demonstrated by the VR mod for Alien Isolation. As a result, series fans can anticipate an intense VR experience. Assassin's Creed Nexus. The popular Ubisoft series Assassin's Creed Nexus is the first VR title created specifically for MetaQuest headsets. Although the game was first revealed more than 2 years ago, the public has only recently learned the first information. The goal of the game is to allow players to assume the identities of various well-known killers from history, including Ezio Auditore, Cassandra, Connor, or Hatham. The game has a total of 16 distinct tasks and a tutorial to help you get used to the controls. Every mission is about 20 minutes long, takes place in a different historical period, and has unique surroundings and enemies. Everything you'd anticipate from an Assassin's Creed game is included in this one, including combat, climbing, pickpocketing, and sneaking. According to reviews, Assassin's Creed Nexus's visuals and audio are of extremely high quality and truly immerse you in the narrative. Depending on the player's preference, movement can be accomplished using the device, joysticks, or conventional teleportation. The series places a lot of emphasis on deception, so the creators made sure that teleportation makes sense from a stealth standpoint. Enemy hearing if you teleport too near to him. Fortunately, you can conceal yourself or leap from buildings into haystacks if you misstep. Behemoths, The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners and Archangel, Hellfire developers. Skydance Interactive have released a VR action role-playing and survival game called Behemoth. The game takes place in a post-apocalyptic world where giant creatures known as behemoths rule the terrain, and a plague has driven people insane. The player assumes the part of an infected wanderer who must overcome obstacles as they arise while looking for a potential cure. In order to defeat the behemoths and other enemies, the player must use a variety of weapons and tools in the game's brutal but tactical VR battle system. The eye-tracking function of the PSVR2 headset, which enables players to quickly switch between weapons and show HUDs through the headset's cameras, is also utilized in this game. In order to attack the behemoth's weak spots or access new regions, the player must climb up them using the game's breathtaking locomotion option. He will need to take extra care to avoid falling or getting ensnared by the creatures while doing this. Behemoth has stunning visuals and audio. The game utilizes the 4K HDR and high visual resolution of the PSVR2 to produce an atmospheric and realistic world. New areas and textures have been added to the maps, and the character models have undergone a full redesign. The game's motif pairs well with the epic soundtrack. The realistic sound effects heighten the sense of suspense and peril. Fans of action RPGs and survival titles should check out the upcoming VR title Behemoth. It has a compelling narrative, an original fighting and movement system, and excellent audio and visuals. The game is slated to launch for PSVR2 in late 2023. Firewall Ultra. First Contact. Entertainment, the creator of Firewall 0 Hour, has released Firewall Ultra, a first-person shooter for virtual reality. It is a follow-up to the well-liked PSVR first-person shooter game from 2018, picking up 5 years after the original and introducing new settings, mercenaries, and levels of personalization. The game's emphasis is on multiplayer PvE and PvP missions in which the player assumes the role of a special contractor and engages in cooperative or competitive combat with other players. The eye-tracking functionality of the PSVR2 headset is also utilized by the game to enable for intuitive firearm switching and HUD display activation through the headset's cameras. New dedicated servers for the game will also be available as asked by the Firewall community for a long time. All matches will now be best-of-3 affairs, and Firewall Ultra even introduces a fresh PvE experience. The Firewall Ultra's audio and visuals are both superb. The game makes use of the PSVR2's 4K HDR high visual resolution to produce a dynamic and realistic world. Firmament, the most recent game from Cyan, the company behind Myst and Abduction, is called Firmament. A floating clockwork companion and a ghostly mentor accompany us as we discover 4 distinct realms as part of this VR-only journey. The game honors Cyan's vintage point-and-click adventures while utilizing contemporary graphics and VR involvement. In order to answer puzzles and unlock the mysteries of the universe, we can pick up, examine, and use objects. The graphics are stunning, particularly the realistic mechanisms and icy environments. As you might anticipate from Cyan, the ambiance is intriguing and enigmatic. The PlayStation VR2 and Meta Quest 2 are both supported by the game. Ghostbusters Rise of the Ghost Lord. A VR game called Ghostbusters Rise of the Ghost Lord was produced by Dreams for Sony Pictures VR. It allows us to launch our own ghost hunting enterprise in San Francisco and is modeled on the well-known Ghostbusters film series. The powerful Ghost Lord and his band of nefarious ghosts can be stopped by playing alone or with up to 3 companions as we attempt to restore order to the city. We can pursue, zap, and catch ghosts while carrying the fabled proton pack. The game is not explicitly based on the film Ghostbusters. Afterlife and instead has an original story set in the Ghostbusters universe. The game will be made available for the PlayStation VR2 and the Meta Quest 2. Ghostbusters Rise of the Ghost Lord and Firmament are 2 exciting VR games for 2023. They both provide an immersive VR experience with various themes and gaming philosophies. For those who enjoy conundrum adventures like Myst, try Firmament. For fans of the film franchise, Ghostbusters Rise of the Ghost Lord is more of an entertaining and action-packed game. Both titles look fantastic and make excellent use of the new VR technology. I can't wait to put them to use. VR version of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas is a VR rendition of the 2004 open-world iconic game by Rockstar Games. The video game centers on CJ, a guy who goes back to San Andreas in order to save his family. The game features a sizable game universe that includes numerous locations like Los Santos, San Fierro, and Las Venturas. The player has full freedom to roam the city, carry out quests, or just cause mayhem. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas' VR adaptation is intended to rethink the game and modify it to take advantage of VR's capabilities. Sadly, there isn't any playable gameplay yet, but you can anticipate the game to have an immersive first-person view and make use of the Oculus Quest 2's motion controls. The controls for the games, cars, and weapons are still unknown. One of the most well-known video games of all time will be made available in virtual reality with Grand Theft Auto San Andreas VR, an ambitious endeavor. Both the release date and price of the game are still unknown. Hellsweeper VR. The makers of Sorrento VR have created Hellsweeper VR, a furious first-person roguelike experience. The game transports the player to Purgatory, where he must battle corrupted spirits. To defeat his foes, the player can employ a variety of weapons and elemental magic. A dynamic locomotion system with wall running, leaping, and slow-motion effects is featured in the game. Multiple game options are available in Hellsweeper VR, including an endless mode with progressively more difficult enemies, a rogue-like mode with random maps and challenges, and a co-op mode with up to 4 players. With 16 maps, over 10 enemy types, and a variety of task types, the game should be highly replayable. A challenging challenge awaits brave VR players in Hellsweeper VR, an action-packed game. The game is slated to launch for Oculus Quest 2 and other PCVR devices in the second quarter of 2023. Mountains Call on the Horizon is a VR adaptation of the popular Horizon series by Guerrilla Games, which takes place in a post-apocalyptic world where enormous mechanical creatures dominate the landscape. A linear action-adventure, the game casts the user as a new character who teams up with the lead character, Aloy, Cillian Murphy, to complete a covert mission. You visit a number of places from the main games along the way, like Charlie's Yard and the Garrison Tavern, and you battle terrifying adversaries like the Stormbird and the Tallneck. The PSVR2's powers are fully utilized by the game, which has stunning visuals and immersive audio to fully immerse you in the Horizon universe. The machine's size and design stand out in particular because they convey a strong feeling of their threat and power. The new controllers with haptic input and finger tracking are used for the controls, which are simple to use. Draw your bow, shoot arrows, gather up items, play with water, or fire arrows. It takes talent and strategy to take advantage of the weaknesses of the machines in the combat system, which is modeled on that of the main games. For series aficionados or those who want to become one, Horizon Call of the Mountain is a fun treat. It provides a compelling narrative with well-known characters and stunning scenes. A reasonable amount of time for a VR game, the game can be played for about 6 hours. There are a few extra activities like collecting items or stacking bricks, but there isn't much variation or replay value. The game is less of an open-world journey and more of an engaging experience. Peaky Blinders, The King's Ransom, is a VR game that was influenced by the same-named British gangster series. The player assumes the character of a former soldier who seeks assistance from Tommy Shelby, Cillian Murphy, in the 1928 setting of the game. During this process, he becomes embroiled in a potentially fatal conflict over a shadowy document known as the Red Box, which includes the names of all British agents. Along with competing gangs like the Billy Boys and Sabini's Mob, the player must also deal with friends like Arthur Shelby and other factions, Paul Anderson. The game is a narrative VR experience that emphasizes choices and dialogue. The player's demeanor can change, affecting both the plot's development and his interactions with other characters. The game also includes a few combat scenes with gunfights with foes. For VR newcomers, controlling the game with a controller may take some getting used to. For aficionados of the series or those who are curious about the historical setting, Peaky Blinders: The King's Ransom is a popular VR title. The game provides accurate representations of the main characters and does a good job of capturing the atmosphere and style of the series. Resident Evil 4 VR. The remake of the 2005 classic Resident Evil from the first-person viewpoint is called Resident Evil 4 VR. The protagonist of the game is an agent named Leon S. Kennedy, who is tasked with finding the kidnapped daughter of the U.S. president and rescuing her from a Spanish hamlet populated by infected people. He must use a variety of tools and weaponry to combat hordes of adversaries who are under the control of a parasite known as
Las Plagas. The game offers realistic and adaptable controls and makes excellent use of the Oculus Quest 2 headset's capabilities. Your firearms can be fast-changed or reloaded by grabbing them with the Sense controllers
while they are attached to your body. By aiming at or touching an item in the environment, you can also examine or use it. You can select different comfort settings to prevent motion sickness. Movement is either by teleportation or by running around freely with the analog stick. Although not perfect, the game's graphics are still remarkable for a large-scale VR game. To better the atmosphere, the lighting has been improved and the textures have been revised. The sequences have not been optimized for virtual reality, and the animations can be a little distracting in places. On the other hand, the sound is extremely well done and creates tension and terrifying times. The VR experience Resident Evil 4 VR content is an unqualified triumph and will please both veterans and newcomers. The game has been enhanced for virtual reality, offering countless hours of enjoyment. The Dark Pictures Switchback VR is a sub-series of the horror anthology series by Supermassive Games, which has so far produced the 3 segments Man of Medan, Little Hope, and House of Ashes. A hellish roller coaster journey takes you through 10 different levels as you play this arcade shooter, in the vein of Until Dawn, Rush of Blood. The plot doesn't really matter, but the levels are based on the places from the Dark Pictures anthology's first season. You adopt the persona of an anonymous protagonist who discovers very little about himself or his companions. Instead, the game emphasizes action and leaves little space for investigation or judgment. The game provides excellent graphics for a VR game of this type and runs on the PlayStation VR2 headset as a platform. The environments offer some spectacular effects like fire or explosions and are intricately designed and diverse. But throughout the game, the foes tend to repeat themselves quite a bit. You always have 2 weapons at your disposal, which you can separately control with the Sense controllers. The controls for the game are straightforward and responsive. By shooting red boxes that appear in specific locations and that appear in specific locations, you can change between various kinds of weapons. Although the roller coaster's tracks advance automatically, you have free head movement and occasionally must dodge or duck to escape obstacles. Those were our top picks for VR gaming hits in 2023. We hope you'll be as excited as we are and dive into these amazing virtual worlds soon. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to never miss any news and updates. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye!